Hello and welcome to this week's vlog from Maddisons. Well, the stamp duty deadline, 31st of March, you must be sick of hearing me talk about it, but interestingly, last week it was agreed that it would be debated in Parliament, that it should be extended until the end of September. That's because of that petition that's been going around that reached over 100,000 signatures. Of course, there's real concern in the industry that the market could fall off a cliff edge if there's a lot of transactions within that have been banking on that saving of stamp duty that don't then hit that deadline. So, of course, there's enormous momentum to extend it to keep the property market going so well. But the numbers are huge, and this is obviously why Rishi is very reluctant to extend it. It's estimated he's lost about 1.5 billion in revenue from the stamp duty holiday thus far. And there are about 582,000 transactions sitting, waiting to go through, totalling just under £150 billion of property sales. So the extra that he will lose will be huge in terms of stamp duty holiday up to the end of March. So he's obviously very keen to start to get some money rolling into those coffers, and maybe realising that the property market was probably always going to go a bit boom after lockdown anyway, which of course what I predicted. So does he need to extend the stamp duty holiday to keep that momentum in the market? It'll be really interesting to see what they say. We still are not in a full lockdown in the housing market, so I'm not convinced he will do a blanket extension, but whether he continues it for deals that are in the pipeline, maybe, just to stop them collapsing. And it brings me on to an interesting point that I get asked an awful lot, so I thought I'd just talk a little bit about this today, is, do I list for sale now or do I wait until the spring? Now, that is every year a question that I get asked, simply because many reasons why people prefer to list in the spring. You tend to have a greater sense of well-being in the world, and sort of consumer confidence is a big thing that generates property sales in this country. The weather feels nicer, the light gets better, and people start to emerge from that Christmas and winter hunkering down to think about potentially moving property. Gardens start to look better for photography, viewings are better for photography and light, and lots of reasons why the spring has always felt like a good time. Traditionally, of course, it was because until the likes of the property portals, you would find your property by having a trip down the high street, and of course most people tend to do that more when the weather got better. Of course that doesn't happen anymore. People can sit at home on their iPads or their devices or whatever, their phones, and look at Rightmove and have a good search around. So those traditional reasons of why the spring market are not quite so strong. Indeed, Rightmove's busiest day last year was January the 26th for searches, so it certainly doesn't hold true that that's when buyers are starting to come to the market anymore. But there are all those reasons I said of why your property might look a bit better. But of course, at the moment, it's compounded by the fact that by the spring, I think everybody's feeling that things will start to be easing. Won't be fully out of this hideous situation that we've been in now for coming up for a year, but it will start to be easing. The vaccine will have been rolled out. The weather will have improved, which means that viruses such as COVID don't have such a stronghold. That peak of the death rate will have started to come down quite a bit, and life will feel like it's returned to normality. And of course, for people coming into your home, it's very nerve-wracking at the moment. We're told to stay at home. So does it feel right to go out and do viewings or invite others into your home to sell? So a lot of people are very aware of, on both a kind of moral, ethical basis, should they be marketing their property for sale, which I totally understand. And everyone has their own thoughts and feelings on this. Of course, the stamp duty holiday as well has been for many thinking, do I list now to try and attract all those buyers who are trying to meet those stamp duty holiday? The reality is you're highly unlikely to catch it now. You'd have to find a buyer who doesn't need a mortgage, is probably quite relaxed about having a survey, and is happy to employ an incredibly good, competent solicitor, of which there are many. We give many recommendations to them, but those three things would have to align, and the seller would have to be prepared to vacate. If they've got a tenant in there and they're thinking it's end of chain, it certainly isn't. You have to serve 6 months' notice at the moment to get a tenant out, and many solicitors would not allow a buyer to exchange on a property until the tenant has left anyway, so that they can be guaranteed vacant possession on completion. So you need various things to align to hit that stamp duty holiday deadline. Highly unlikely, I would say. You've got to get to market, find a buyer, and then find one of those buyers with those criteria I said. So I would say the stamp duty holiday is not something you should consider anymore at all. It's simply, I guess, whether for you the timing feels right. And as always, what I say in these situations is there are plenty of buyers still out there at the moment. I'm negotiating 4 offers this week alone. We've had some go to sealed bids. So there will be a market out there for you. We can manage the whole end of March stamp duty holiday conversation that will certainly come up, as those buyers certainly probably still feel they think they can hit the deadline. And we can certainly, get you under offer fairly quickly, but you need to feel comfortable. The timing needs to be right for you. If you need to sell for whatever reason, then I would just say push on. If the property's empty and you're not worried about COVID and we can manage all that risk, then we're very happy to push on. But if you're nervous and you want to shield, totally understandable. And if you're not in a hurry, then the spring market is always great. Give me a call, I'll talk through in more detail. Well, of course, last week, it's all about staying in at the moment. Where do you get a decent meal? And I'd like to push my dear friends at Sankey's here on the Pantiles, who've obviously got their presence up at the top end of town, but they are doing the Great Big Night In at the moment. It sold out last week. They launched the menu on a Sunday. Last week it had smokehouse tara masalata, potted shrimps, Bideford skate wing and lemon posset. Sounded absolutely wonderful. So they'll release their menu on Sunday. Look out for that. Do support them if you can. The food is exceptional, and I think we all need a little bit of something to feel cheery about at the moment. I hope you have a good week. Do stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.